Well, he extends that, as you mentioned, by Judea and Samaria, which he says is the land of our ancestors, where Abraham and David and so on walked. This is indeed an articulation of the claim to Eretz Israel as set forth in 1947 by Rabbi Fishman when he presented a formal map to the United Nations Special Committee on Palestine, when the Jewish Agency was advancing its proposition as to what constituted Eretz Israel, or the land of Israel.
Well, it went further than Judea and Samaria, Ralph. It goes to...
They produced a map, as we've often discussed on Taking Aim, based upon the second volume of Theodor Herzl's historic work on the Zionist project. And the map, I believe it's on page 731 of volume 2, sets forth unmistakably and clearly what do these people, and that includes Benjamin Netanyahu, what do they mean by Eretz Israel, or the land of Israel? All of Palestine, all of Cisjordan, all of Lebanon, 2/3 of Iraq, 1/2 of Syria, the southern tier of Turkey, 1/3 of Arabia, Egypt up to the Nile, including Cairo, indeed, even Kuwait. There is a very...
Lebanon up to the Litani.
No, not all of Lebanon, Maya. The map includes all of Lebanon, as I mentioned, 1/2 of Syria, 2/3 of Iraq, southern tier of Turkey, Cisjordan. I mean, it is indeed a region which is considered by the Zionists from their inception to be a project. And every spokesperson has articulated the view that these questions of what constitutes the land are on a timetable, and the Palestinians are usurpers. They have no historic relation to this land. They are simply a remnant, opportunist, nomadic tribal presence who have intruded themselves upon Eretz Israel. And what's extraordinary about this, of course, is that Mr. Benjamin Netanyahu is descended from people who have no relation to Palestine, historic or other, because Ashkenazim, or European Jews, such as Mr. Netanyahu or ourselves for that matter, are in fact descendants of the Khazars, a 8th and 9th century empire that converted to Judaism at the time, from which European Jews are descended. Indeed, as I've often discussed, if one wanted any, as it were, scientific data which demonstrates the ethnic origins of European Jewry, for what the hell it matters, apropos the question of Palestine, but here's the point. European Jews are susceptible to a genetic condition known as Tay-Sachs disease, analogous to what African Americans suffer with
sickle cell
anemia. What's interesting about this is that only European Jews are susceptible to this genetic trait. No Semitic people is. That means none of the Jews from the Arab East, the
from Yemen or from Iraq.
Yemen or Iraq or North Africa or any of the areas of the region, because like their Arab brothers and sisters, who are, as are the Arab Jews,
the Palestinians would be converts to Islam.
Well, the point is very ironic, as we've often made it, and I think we should take just this brief moment to emphasize this. Who do you think was converted to the proselytizing and dynamic Islamic religion in the 6th century? The indigenous inhabitants. They were Jews. They were non-believers. They were Zoroastrians. They were people of various local religious and other views, animist views. The irony of all this is that the Palestinian people have a greater genetic link to the Jews of the region by descent than the Ashkenazim, who have no relation to this region whatsoever. So this is essentially a racist and pseudoscientific attempt historically to lay claim to an area and to translate their God into a real estate agent. This belongs to you, and this belongs to you, and da-da-da-da. There is no remote scintilla of evidence to establish a relationship between Jews in the world today and this region. None whatsoever, because the Jews of the period were expelled to Babylonia, and the remaining tribes were entirely assimilated to the populations of the area. And indeed, they are the antecedents of the Palestinian population. They have a greater relationship to the Hebrews of the early period than any Ashkenazim who has none whatsoever, by way of punctuating the irony and the point about the nature of a colonial settler project as an instrument of imperial conquest.
Now I wanted to see what DNA could tell us about their more distant roots. The first test will reveal how Jewish you are. Mm-hmm. So out of 100%, how Jewish do you think you are?
I'd say 85.
Okay, let's turn the page. Can you read your percentage of Ashkenazi Jewish ancestry?
Wow, 97.
97.8%.
97.7 Ashkenazi Jewish.
Basically, you're like Ivory soap. Their percentages were similar, but there was one uncanny surprise in store for each of them. Their genomes contained a startling finding. While comparing their DNA results to the results of other people we've tested, we found one significant match. Evidence within their own chromosomes of a relative neither suspected they shared. We match your DNA against everybody who's been in any of my series. If you have long identical stretches, that means you're cousins.
Oh, I have some cousins?
Yep.
I hope it's a good athlete. What the hell?
You're kidding. Oh my God. That is unbelievable.